Is it just me, or have you also observed that in recent times, especially since the pandemic, there's been like this sudden surge in UX roles worldwide? This is because organizations are now seeing the value of hiring UX professionals and incorporating user-centered designs. You would even notice that these days, companies are now creating teams dedicated just to UX design, and universities are starting to include UX programs more than ever before. Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are the UX design people. In this channel, we share tips, ideas, principles, inspiration, and everything related to UX design. In today's video, we'll delve into how to assess and elevate your organization's UX maturity. You will learn how to identify your current stage of maturity, set clear goals, and implement strategies to move your organization to the next level. If you do enjoy my content, please like, drop a comment, and share to your friends, especially those in UX design. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. If you have not, please do so that you know immediately my content drops. Like I said earlier, we are going to be discussing UX maturity. UX maturity is simply the way an organization approaches UX design and implements them in their products and services. It's how sophisticated, how complex, how effective an organization applies UX principles in their teams, that is, in the creation of their products and services. You can also say that UX maturity is an assessment of how well a company values UX design. And I'm sure you've noticed this in the way that some companies work. You see some startups with very small UX teams or none at all, while bigger companies have larger teams that focus on UX. I'm sure that you've also noticed that in smaller companies, it's either you don't have a UX designer or you have one or two at the most. While in bigger companies, you have different teams that focus on different parts of user experience. You can have a team dedicated to UX research. You can have a team dedicated to just testing. So what I'm saying is this varies because of the level of UX maturity in these companies. The higher your UX maturity, the more time you dedicate to UX design, to UX research, the more you value UX designers. There are different established models that you can use to evaluate your company's UX maturity. But I'm going to be focusing on the Nielsen Group's UX maturity model. This model breaks UX maturity into 6 different stages, and I'm sure your organization is going to fit in one of these stages. Let me just briefly talk about these 6 stages of UX maturity. The first one I have here is absent. In this stage, you can see here that UX is ignored, non-existent, or undiscovered. You might have seen some companies like this. UX is not in their initial thoughts at all. UX is non-existent. UX is not a recognized discipline. And the primary problem here is that they don't know what UX is. They lack this awareness. Also, the design decisions made here are based on intuition and technical needs. Companies like these are usually startups where UX designers may not exist at all, or even if they exist, they have very limited influence. Stage 2 is limited. In this stage, the way they approach UX is uneven, haphazard, and aspirational. There is some awareness of UX, but the way they approach it is just inconsistent and sometimes unreliable. They may have UX designers, but just like the first stage, their influence is limited. The third stage I have here is emergent. In this stage, UX design approach is functional and promising. It may be inconsistent and inefficient. In this stage, UX is recognized as important, but it's still developing, it's still growing. And they may have UX designers, they may even have a team dedicated to UX design, but their impact is still limited. Their UX designers also may not have enough resources. The fourth stage is structured, and here the UX design approach is partly systematic. Here, UX is a well-established discipline with defined processes and methodologies. In teams like this, UX is already a well-established discipline. Their teams are already starting to form, especially with a clear role, and their roles are integrated into the product development cycle. Even the UX designers are key players in the design process. In teams like this, you see UX designers working closely with developers, product managers, and other stakeholders. Stage 5 is integrated maturity. It's comprehensive, it's universal. UX is deeply embedded in the organization's culture and strategy. User research and testing are prioritized. You see that the teams have sub-teams that are dedicated to different aspects of UX design. The UX designers are strategic partners that collaborate with leaders in the company to drive innovation and customer satisfaction. The very last stage, according to Nielsen, is user-driven. In this stage, UX is treated as something really dear to the company. Here, the organization is completely user-centered, like their focus is the user. Organizations like these are like the 1% of the 1%. This is because only a small percentage of companies get to this level. Here they prioritize user experience, and it drives every aspect of the business. From product development to marketing to sales, user experience is the focus. In organizations like this, you will realize that UX designers are leaders that shape the organization's future by advocating for users' needs and driving a culture of innovation. Now that we know about the stages of UX maturity, let's talk about why it's important for you to elevate your company's UX maturity level. The main reason is that you have the ability to maintain relevance in your field and stay competitive. I wrote here that software companies in the innovation industry that employ high achieving individuals, UX designers, seasoned UX designers like yourself. Naturally, you want to motivate yourself, you want to put in your best, you want to do the best work. But along the line, you become miserable. And that's because you keep building for old technology. You keep giving your best, but your company is not moving forward. Your company is not growing at the same pace that you are. I also have it here that people working in product teams want to propel their careers forward and gain the most relevant experience possible. But if your company is bogged down with tech and design debt, these high achieving smart people will get bummed out. Imagine you are working at a company and you keep giving it your best, you keep giving these designs, you're advocating for users' needs, you are putting users first and all, but your company does not value all your inputs. They keep focusing on the bottom line. You are constantly going to feel stressed. You are going to be burnt out because you have to keep compromising the quality of your work. Since you are not constantly required to give it your all, you are not constantly required to apply the UX principles that you've learned. Eventually, you feel like you are stagnant. You are not progressing. They don't see the impact of your work. What you are doing currently is not relevant to your career. You are just providing designs based on what they need immediately without verifying, without validating whether this thing is actually what the user needs or not. Also, as a business owner, the last thing you want to see is to see that flame of enthusiasm, that drive, that zeal that you saw in an employee before you hired them or during the interview. You don't want to see that flame go out just because they are not being creative enough. So whether your company has extensive resources for UX design or not, it's better for you to still advocate for UX, because the better your UX culture is, or the higher your UX maturity is, then the more motivated people are going to be, the more successful the company is going to be, and the employees will not be spending their time and energy converting people and teaching them the UX way one by one. Now let's talk about how to elevate your company's UX maturity level. The first one I have here is UX advocacy, that is building awareness. We already know that it's important for us to reach a common understanding of UX. At the same time, we understand that it's not possible for us to move from stage 1, that is absent, to let's say the user-driven stage, which is stage 6. It's not possible for us to move from stage 1 to stage 6 overnight. We have to build it step by step. If you're at the lowest stage, the first thing you need to do is to be an advocate. You have to be the preacher of UX design. Every time you enter meetings, you talk with the stakeholders, you need to keep advocating for users. Even if they are pushing back, don't stop advocating. Don't stop telling them, okay, have we considered what the users might need? Have we asked the users? Have we done interviews? Keep pushing for it. You can even set up meetings or ask for some time from the management during one of your events to teach other employees about UX design and demonstrate its value to customers and the organization. When you do this, you will even find out that a lot of people don't understand what UX design is. Some people just think it's visual design or making things pretty. Some people might even think that UX design is minimalism, just make the website clean with minimal colors and things like that. It's totally okay for them to misunderstand the meaning of UX because it's a relatively new term and you're trying to teach them, you're trying to educate them. The important thing is that they know that there's a problem that they are willing to solve. And when you are teaching them about UX, don't make it complicated. Just make it very simple, very basic. Present it to them in a way that is very relatable. Just tell them, we really care about people. We are doing this because of our users. Make sure that it's very user-centered. This will avoid misunderstandings about the scope of UX, how it works, and what it's meant to do. Another way to elevate your company's UX maturity is by establishing clear goals. You may decide to do it periodically. Let's say at the beginning of each quarter, you have to set clear UX goals. You know that as UX designers, our goal is to create products that seamlessly align with user needs, products that solve user problems. But sometimes this clashes with business goals because obviously the purpose of a business is to make money. And by the time you start advocating for UX, they might say, oh, this doesn't really meet our needs this quarter. We need to achieve this certain target financially. That's why there's something called balance. You have to place yourself at the center of aligning your business goals with meeting user needs. You need to define a clear design strategy. Why are we doing this? Who is it for? What value does it bring? What are the business goals and user needs? What can we realistically do? One more thing to note is that your objectives have to be SMART, that is, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The third point I have here is prioritizing user research. It's very important for you to engage in user research because it helps you as a designer understand your user needs and behaviors, which allows you create products and services that are relevant and meet those needs. When you engage in research, it helps you understand your users better. You know what they want and you know exactly what to make or create to meet those needs. User research helps designers to understand how users think, how they feel, what they want, and things like that, so that you can create products that exactly meet those needs. It also helps you understand how users solve problems. By the time you observe how users use your products, it helps you know how they solve problems and how you can create better user journeys. This makes you create products that are easy and pleasurable to use. User research helps you understand the user's experience as they are using the product. By doing so, it makes you understand how to solve their problems. You can also evaluate solution effectiveness through user research. Let's say you've already built a product or you've designed a product and the developers have built it. How do you know if this product is actually meeting the user's needs? It's through research. You have to go back into the market, talk to these users or observe them as they are using the product, as they are testing out your MVP. You can easily evaluate what gives the user satisfaction and what makes them frustrated. You can see if the goals that you initially set have been achieved. The next one I have on my list here is use data, not emotion. You might not believe it, but getting external input from your users is the single most high impact practice you can adopt to directly impact the bottom line. When you start to use data and not emotions, you begin to build things that are relevant to users. You stop building things that don't matter just based on your own intuition or feeling that, oh, I think the users are going to enjoy this. I think this is going to be beneficial to users. When you get actual data, objective data, you are well informed of what exactly to create. You can collect data from your users through different ways like running interviews, sending out online surveys, usability testing, and the likes. What's important is that when you get this data, you analyze them, you interpret them, and then by the time you incorporate them into your designs, you make sure that you are not emotional about it. You might be wondering, what if you don't have access to users? What if your users are people that you can't easily reach? You can get people who don't know about your product, but they fit your ideal customer profile to use your product and give feedback. Number 5 is smart collaboration. Smart collaboration is basically removing things that drain your energy and including things that boost your creativity. These days, especially as teams get bigger, as companies get wider, you have meetings with different teams, marketing, sales, and the likes. But sometimes the meetings can just get too much and overbearing that you can't keep track. Sometimes you attend meetings and you are just burnt out, you are not paying attention, you are just drained, and the meetings are not helpful, they are not adding any value to you, they are not even bringing any contribution to the meeting. Strong UX teams are interdisciplinary. You need to get all the brains in the room to make good decisions. And it's not until the product is already built that you need to come together. You need to come together right from the start. Designers and developers have to start working together even before the design is done. Instead of setting up recurrent meetings that bring no value, there are other ways to do this. An example of what you can do as a designer is that you can just record a section of your design, send it to your channel or your group, then get their feedback before a meeting. This helps you save time because people can check out that video or your recording at their own time and send their feedback way before the meeting. You can even take some feedback and make some adjustments before the meeting so that it saves everybody's time. And we have some employees that will not even watch the video. You come to the meeting too, you don't pay attention. It makes you really frustrated as a designer because you are trying to pass across some information, you are trying to get some feedback, but these people are not responding. You don't know what to do at this point. So at this point, meetings are really not the solution. The solution is probably engaging them one-on-one. You can meet the leaders of these teams that you are interested in. You may want to schedule one-on-one sessions with some key stakeholders just to get their input. If it now boils down to the fact that you really need a meeting to address some issues, make sure you have an agenda set up before the meeting so that people that are coming to attend, they know what exactly you want to talk about during this meeting and they are prepared ahead of time. One collaboration challenge you might have is that a senior management official might be too involved in the product development process, which could drag the team back and hinder their creativity. You don't want only one person to call the shots and make decisions based on their own subjective opinions. So what do? You make sure that your product process includes user involvement. That is, the user is the center of what you are building, and your KPIs must be directed to user experience. The last but not the least is adopting a design system. As you are proceeding from one stage of UX maturity to the other, you might have the need to own a design system, but sometimes it's just impossible for you to create one on your own, especially when you are the only designer in the team wearing many hats. You are the one doing the UX design, you are the one liaising with developers, you are the one just doing everything related to UX design, product design in your company. At this point, you just want to adopt a design system. You can go out there, just search online, you will see different design systems that are already established. They have everything you want. You have the human design system by Apple, you have material design by Google, you have ant design, you have like a plethora. Just choose a suitable one and adopt it, apply your own brand guidelines and make it your own. By doing this, you have this consistency across all your designs. Your designs will look good and people will come to think of this as like your central resource, your single source of truth. You don't want to start creating all these little components from scratch. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. Just adopt a good design system, apply them to your brand, and you are good to go. We have now come to the end of this video. We've been able to talk about what UX maturity is, how to assess it, importance of elevating it, and how to elevate it. If you really enjoyed this content, please like, drop a comment, and subscribe to my channel. If you would like to see more of this type of content, please indicate in the comment section. If there's any particular content that you like related to UX design, just drop it in the comment section. And if you don't want to do that, you can send me a direct email by clicking on my profile. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.